Kirk, I think that survey you sent out, I might have goofed up my entries on it. I think you were probably looking for items to complete virtually or something. I put down. I've already completed a lot of virtual stuff this year, and I was putting down actual mission type stuff.
No, what I want with that is this is kind of just a survey to say what are you interested in completing at some point in the future. Not saying it has to be done virtually or anything. It's just trying to help the squadron and group ESOs to say, here's where the interest lies. Maybe we should need to focus on these areas,
Okay.
because you force somebody into something they don't want to do. If somebody doesn't want that qualification, this kind of gives them an idea. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I filled it out right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know most of the things that the guys up here want to complete or look into is how to set up the HF.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not something I can do virtually.
Right.
It's like I can't simulate throwing ropes through trees to bring an antenna into the air or erecting masts for the antenna online, at least not effectively. So
I did attend that Roden Schwartz had a Nevis seminar, near vertical incident seminar. I did attend that, and it wasn't bad, but I have a feeling they thought I was a DoD purchasing agent.
Oops.
They were wanting to sell thousands of dollars worth of Nevis antennas and HF equipment and all kinds of nice radios. My bank account didn't go that deep.
Yeah, just bill it to Illinois Wing Headquarters. Moni, Illinois, or wherever they're at, or Beecher, Illinois. That's it. I'm sure they'll have no problem covering those costs. Well, if you're starting to load up with people.
They're still early, though.
I know I had email chats, or not chats, but exchanges. I see with Aaron and Tyler, Carl, and Laura. I think I did your 105 also. Fernando. No, I don't know. Fernando, I think you went to.
Yeah, I did one for him.
Okay. Hey, Oliver Burns, is there a way you can put a blind down or something on that window behind you? Okay, that helps. Thank you. Evening, Wade.
Good evening.
Okay, your volume's kind of low, but that's okay.
Still got a few minutes, but we had 47 last time.
We got a bunch to go in the next 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, Kirk, I'm in a hotel room, and the internet connection right now is okay, but it kind of fades in and out. So if for some reason I drop, I'll sign right back on.
Okay, that's fine. That happens.
Yep.
I've got several emails this week from folks that had connection problems last week, so hopefully we've worked through everything. And I did get is it Lieutenant Cranford? I did get a 105 from your cadet a little bit ago. I'll go through it after this is over tonight. And of course, we're going to review the 105s a little bit. But I'll get a reply back to her Probably in the morning.
All right. So if you guys have not signed in yet, please do that. I don't see a lot of people signed in for the chat right now. Let's see about 7 or 8 people signed in. Yeah, 18 here.
I see someone I don't recognize as having been on here before. Sora Hanashi. I'd have to look back in the chat.
Not familiar.
And Senior Member Peterson, I took care of your squitter. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at it, but it's all done. I think
Yes. Thank you very much.
I think you still had to do the CAP test 117 part 3.
Maybe I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
I had another task. It was a P0101, but it was from the 19th of July. So I re-entered the instructor's CAP ID, and hopefully that'll go through.
P010, is that the logging?
Yeah, for I think it was basic comm when I was doing the iCut, I believe it was.
Yeah, it sounds like the logging one, P0101.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of members already had credit for some other sources for a lot of the tasks.
Well, thank you very much.
Can you repeat the evaluator's CAP ID and the mission ID? I wrote it down, but I can't read it.
Mine's on the chat. It's one of the early, I just put mine on chat at the beginning this evening.
Yeah, it's Colonel Bartel. It's us. I'm up there also at the beginning of the chat.
Okay, and what's the mission ID also?
What is this? 20-Tango-5083, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that this one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm looking it up. I should have it memorized by this point, but I don't.
Yeah, well, I've got to remember whether is it that one or is it the one? Was that the wing net participation mission that's out there that we're into every day also?
No, yeah, it's 5083. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The net one's is a different one. Ooh.
It's filling up pretty good. We're up to 35.
Yeah. Actually, that's why I'll wait
excuse me.
a few minutes.
Excuse me, sir. I know you guys just said something about
Hi.
point to start. So I didn't get whatever you guys have said. It's at the beginning of the chat.
Hi, Captain DeWolf. I wanted to talk to you anyway. I took care of something for you today. I know you sent me your 105, but I need to go over your squitter. And I plan to do, I was looking at your squitter today, and it didn't look like there was a whole lot filled out on it. So.
No, sir, I haven't filled anything on my scooter yet because I was waiting until I knew for a fact that things were done. And besides, you wanted to talk to me after last time, and we didn't get together, so I wasn't sure what that was about either.
Well, probably about what I would call you about this week. You had a lot of questions at the beginning. I think you were just a squadron comm officer.
Yes, sir, that was the case.
Yeah, I just want to have a little discussion with you. And we could do it whenever you have time the coming week. but I'm mainly concerned that we track everything on the Squitter. I know you had things that you were dropping off from time to time, so we can work around that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I was just going to go ahead. I knew you were at the past classes. I was going to sign you off anyway, but I wanted to talk to you first before I did that.
We're getting there.
Well, I don't have to be exact, but it seems like every time we have one of these, we have a few less people than before. Because like the first ground team training, we had like 70 people, and then the next time we had like 50, and then this last time we had like 40. So.
Okay. I think one of the issues we've got is there's a virtual SLS starting up tonight also.
Yeah.
Right.
May I ask a dumb question? I'm embarrassed to ask it.
Certainly, John.
The time factor for Zulu time during daylight savings, is that 5 hours or 6?
5.
Thank you. That's what I thought, but it's been so long since I've had to do it. I forgot to look it up, and thought I'd better ask it.
Yep.
So, all right. So after, I think pretty much everybody's been on before, so they know my little spiel, so no need for me to do it. So, gentlemen, hand over to you guys.
Okay.
Well, the only thing is, if you haven't signed in yet, if you have not signed in yet, please do that. Sorry. Other than that, go ahead.
Yeah, make sure you're on the chat log because that's what we look for to give you credit.
Just to start things off, last week we had asked everyone to come tonight prepared with a blank CAP Form 110 to log our classes tonight. If you do not have that, if you have not done that, just grab a couple sheets of paper real quick and a pen or pencil.
Yeah, and that ICS 214 will work also.
Yeah. Whichever form you have.
Yep.
Or a blank piece of paper, you can transfer it later. And please try to have them to us by, we'll make it next Thursday. Give you some time. I see some of you are out of town or an SLS class going on. We'll give you time to do that. And we'll discuss the logging shortly. We just try to put down things like the time class started tonight, the time we start each subject, the time we end each subject, anything significant that might go on during class this evening. I'm going to try to finish things off tonight. We're going to cover a review of the CAP Form 105. We're going to cover logging, and then we're going to go into sending position reports, conducting scheduled checks, and reporting clues or finds. Those are all basic communications procedures. Once you know how to communicate, those go pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Remember, when you're finished here, you're still going to be in training status. You still have to participate in 2 missions under the direction of an SET. So at least this way, you won't be going in like, what do I do? You'll have some basic knowledge of what's expected of you. Okay? Also, when we're done here tonight, please review your squitters and make sure that those tasks that you expect to be signed off are signed off. There have been some cases this week, some people have contacted me with things that weren't signed off, and we've been able to take care of it, but I don't want that to get too far out. I don't want, when someone's calling me in 4 months and saying, I was at this course and this task wasn't signed off. Please try to get that done this coming week. Look at your
Yes.
squid, make sure those tasks that you expect to be signed off are signed off. Any questions before we get started? And there's a question. Yes, you can do the online Form 105. That was due yesterday. But, okay. Well, let's get started. Did you have a copy of my that 105 review I did, Colonel Bartel?
There, you should be seeing it now.
Okay. We wanted to cover a few things. Some of the things we saw on the 105 forms that we received this past week. First of all, we want to reiterate that generally you won't use a formal traffic, a Form 105, to communicate between a mission base and a deployed team, like a ground team, an air crew. It just takes too much time. Most of our communications are very short, informal, tactical communications, rapid information exchanges. We need direct information exchange. Formal traffic is more suited to policy matters, instructions, orders, reports, any subject which needs to be preserved as written records. Remember, and we'll get into this a little bit in logging, even with our informal communication exchanges. If a ground team gives you a position report, a radio check, reports a clue or a find, or some other information, you still note that in your operator's log that you'll be keeping. So that is still recorded. You can record it depending on the length of it, either verbatim or the gist of what the communications was. And depending on what that communications is, you can decide at that point. Anyway, I wanted to, you may never see traffic with another Form 105 unless it's a specific part of an exercise you're taking part of. I know once in a while at our squadron, I'll hand out ISR radios to the cadets. We'll have an informal net, and I'll send a weekly intercom message or something so they have practice filling out a Form 105. Apart from things like that, you may not see that.
However, let me interject something here, Dave. There is a program that from national headquarters that is called Wing Message Initiative, where national headquarters says, yeah, we know because of the intercoms that you guys know how to receive messages, and that's what the practice is for. However, they want to make sure the wings all know how to send messages as well. So they request that each wing send one message, a formal message, up through the National Traffic Net to DOKO, that's the National Director of Communications Operations, once about every 6 weeks. And he publishes a schedule of what day each wing is expected to have their message in by. I know in Illinois we're really light on doing that. So I'd like to see everybody start writing them locally in the squadron and maybe pass them on the VHF networks up to Major Felber, myself, any of the other net controls who have HF capabilities, and then we can pass them on to the National Traffic Net. For those of you outside of Illinois, your states do this also. So you could write messages, write a message, anything, so long as it's under 25 words or less and formatted properly, give it to one of your net controls, and if they're so disposed, they can pass it up on the network for you, just to give you practice in writing messages. So, okay, I just wanted to get that in there, sir.
That's fine. Yeah, that's we might see more of this as the comm program changes, and as we move from the mission radio operator, communications unit leader, as we have now, to the new program. So stay tuned to that.
Mhm.
I think you'll find after we've done this today, if you take a look at the various paragraphs of CAPR 100-3, they'll make a little more sense to you when it comes to the formal messages. And keep that handy. One of the things we wanted to talk about was a review of the message number. We didn't go real deep into that last week, and I noticed message numbers were kind of all over the place. I had one message that was a received message number of 35 and an outgoing of number 1. Generally, I know we didn't give any big guidelines, and this was generate a fictitious message, but the message number. So if you've handled no other messages and you are originating your first message of whatever the activity is, that would be your message number 1. And it'd be your outgoing message number 1. Okay? If you had no other activity and you were receiving a message that day, that would be your incoming message. And that might depend on what the message number the transmitting station sent. If they handle a lot of traffic, they may say, this is my message number 123, 123. And that would be the incoming message number. And then it would turn out if you resend that, that would be your message number 1. The number 1 would go in the outgoing message number. But we wanted to make sure you had an understanding of what the message numbers meant.
Yeah. We'll cover some more of that when we get to the section on logging. It'll be a little more clear for you, hopefully.
Group counts. Pretty much the group counts looked okay. Where we ran into a problem was when someone may have used the character combined like a time, like 1703 Charlie Delta Tango, 1703 Central Daylight Time. That could really be interpreted 2 ways depending on how it's sent. In most cases, you would say figures 1703, initials Charlie Delta Tango, that would be 2 groups. But if whoever sent it would say figures 1703 Charlie Delta Tango, that would be 1 group. And this is where we get into pro words a little bit. Depending on how you use pro words, it can affect the group count. The pro word figures, when you look in CAPR 100-3, means I'm preparing to send a group, the first of which is a figure. So you can follow a figure with a letter and still begin with the pro word figures. Another might be on wind speed. If you sent it as winds, 2 3s, winds, figures 230, and figure 7, that would be 4 groups. If you sent it as winds, figures 230 slant 7, that could be 2 groups. Again, it depends on how those mixed groups are written and spoken. And try to be as concise as possible when you write the message, because when you write it, you need to make it easy for the receiving station to understand. This mission radio operator course, of course, is written from the viewpoint that you're working at a mission base and you're going to be receiving these messages. So you can see where some confusion might come in when various punctuations are used and pro words are used. To try to keep your group simple to the point and keep the punctuation to a minimum if possible. Any questions on that? Colonel Bartel, you have anything you'd like to throw in?
Yeah, basically, when you're doing a group count, the couple of things you can do. Basically, look at each word. If there's a space after it or before it, it counts as a group. If, like I said, Major Felber was saying, if it's one string that involves numbers and figures, that's one word. But if there are spaces between things, each of those spaces indicates a new word starting. One cool trick is if you type out the message in Microsoft Word on the word format form you can download, when you're done writing, you can highlight your text and it will give you the number of words down in the lower left-hand corner. So that's how I verify anytime we get a message in one of the intercom messages. I'll type it up and then highlight and look at the group. Yep, I got the right number of words. So that's one little trick you can do outside of sitting there counting each one individually. Highlight and look at the number at the bottom on the Word doc. So the two little things are on group counts. Okay, let's see. What's your next slide?
Informal traffic, which is what we normally are involved in. Position reports, radio checks, reporting clues or finds. No message number or date time group or group count is needed. Usually it's a direct exchange between stations, between a deployed station, a ground team, an air crew, or a mission base, but it may be relayed by a third station. And even though it's informal traffic, it still needs to be logged in the station logs, not with the detail that a formal message has, because it won't have a message number or who it was, like the operator's initials, but it may. I shouldn't have said that off the bat. Log it in the station logs or in the Wimmer's com log. A lot of times I've been on paperless missions where we use the Wimmer's com log to record everything. So rather than keeping a paper log, we record it as an entry in Wimmer's. However, that's why I said before you write anything in a log, keep a separate piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Write down what occurred, and that way you can look at it and say, is this really what I want to say? Any questions? Or are there any questions at all we can answer?
Yeah. One thing I want.
Oh, go ahead.
One thing I want to add here is when we get to the conducting scheduled checks, you're going to see quite a few examples of what informal traffic looks like or would sound like, just to give you a better idea of an informal message like you would normally find on a mission. So, okay, any questions?
Okay, just for reference, if you want to look this stuff up during the coming week, you have nothing else to do, in CAP Regulation 100-3, paragraph 2.6 are the rules for handling mixed groups, for mixed letter figure groups. And they'll kind of give you a couple of examples between 1 and 2 group situations.
Yeah, and all 4 of these PowerPoints that we're showing, along with every other PowerPoint we've shown or outline we've shown, are in the Wimmer's mission files. So you can go look at these again if you care to. So they're there for you to read through at your leisure. So, okay, let me stop sharing this one. We want to do scheduled checks next.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, logging. Let's do logging next, since everyone has to keep a log. Since that's one of the homework for tonight, I figured we'd get that early. That way they'd know how to.
Okay, let me come down here. Come on, get in there. There we go. Present now, window. Share. There we go. Okay. Communications logging. Okay, let's.
Okay, and this is, let me get the task number P, 0101,
Yes.
keeping a log. And when you look at that task in mission-based task guide, they cover a whole lot of different logs. We're mainly going to be concerned with the logs required to be kept for communications. The logs are required for all fixed stations, base, mobile, home stations, stations at the squadron, etc. And for all relay stations, any mobile relay team, hybrids, and I think for that they mean a hybrid that has a manned operator. A hybrid with a repeater, that's a repeater, it's not going to be long.
Right.
So if you're a mission radio operator and someone says, hey, you want to go flying tomorrow? There's a hybrid mission. Remember to keep a log for all your communications. You do not need to keep logs for mobile stations, aircraft, or portable stations. So your radios in the van, your ground teams, don't have to keep the communications log. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Aircraft don't need a log. And portable, if you have a handheld in the middle of the field, you don't have to keep the communications log. It could be kind of unwieldy anyway. Now, of course, a ground team, you're probably going to be keeping a separate ground team log, which would include any communications you make from that. So, yeah. But if you're not involved in a mission, if you're driving the CAP van somewhere and you call back at the home squadron, tell them you're stopping for fuel, you don't have to log that. They may be keeping a log if they're a fixed station, but you don't have to.
Right. Okay.
Okay, 2 log forms. The first is the CAP Form 110, the communications log, which is used for CAP missions. And there's an ICS Form 309, COM log, that if you're involved in a multi-agency mission, you may be using that. The information on both will be essentially the same. And we have a couple of examples that will be coming up as we proceed on the slides.
Right. And I was looking today on the FEMA website, and I don't see the ICS 309 on that website. So I'm going to have to go back to my national curriculum team, who's putting that out in some of the new training, and ask them, are they keeping a copy of it, or where are they finding it? So that's to be determined yet, but that is the ICS 309 or 309 COM log. You can find it in multiple different feels and looks depending on what agency is using it. But you'll see an example here pretty soon. So let's see.
Okay, all the logs are legal documents, and they're retained with the mission records. You never know, they may be needed in a court of law. Don't know when they may be called up, but you never know. Always write neatly. Always sign in on the log when you assume logging duties. And I've already seen some good examples of this next point on some of your 105s. If you make a mistake, never erase or obliterate it. Don't scratch it out. Make your corrections with a single line through the entry and initial any corrections. Why is that? They want to see what you initially wanted to write. That way it's not obliterated. And then it was initialed, showing that you made the correction. You'll turn that form at the end of the mission or activity into the IC or the documentation unit or whoever you report to. You might let the communications unit leader handle it.
Yeah, and you're going to find out that, if something does go to court in 2 or 3 years and there are questions about the log, you may find yourself going to that court also because you signed in, you were doing the log, and if they have any questions about it, they're going to go to the person that made the entries. So just keep that in mind. That's why you're signing in. Okay.
Okay. Always complete the information at the top of the log, including the page number. What do you need to log? All calls into or out of the station. Radio, telephone. You never know. You may lose communications and may have to establish communications by cell phone. Those get logged too. Don't think that just because you're not on the radio, you don't need to log them. The time, local or Zulu. The local, keep it in the 24-hour clock, is determined by the IC. The call sign of the station calling or being called. The designator of the channel being used. And a brief synopsis of the call. So here's an example of the CAP form 110. Notice at the top, there's a page number. Depending on how long the activity is, you may have several pages. The mission number goes there, the mission base, the call sign. You can put in the station functional designator or location. Or if there's not a functional designator, if you're using a technical call sign, put in the technical call sign. And the date for that log. In the next, this isn't shown using them, but the next row where it says designator and source, there you would put in which channels you're using, such as A could be CC1, B could be R25, C could be Air 1, D could be CapGuard, E could be cell phone for any calls you might make over the phone. Then you have your time. Note the first entry needs to be in whatever time format you're going to use, be it Zulu time or local time. Then the call sign of the station you're contacting. The channel reference. And in this form, they put the channel reference directly in this column. If they had filled up that designator source line and they put CC1 under A, then they would simply put an A under the channel reference. And then your remarks. Mission base operational. Notice that first line. The operator at the time put in that they were on duty. In the third entry down under 1350 Zulu, ground team 1 called on R25. So the communications was their departing cloud or mission base. I think it's pronounced cloud.
Cloud, correct.
ETA 25 minutes. That's what the ground team said. That's what the radio operator wrote in the log. The next two are simply radio checks. In there, they could have elaborated a little more, like radio check loud and clear, radio check unreadable, or made some note of whether it was satisfactory or unsatisfactory. In the last entry, 1345, Cap 1147 on Air 1 reported they were wheels up. Very simple communications. Cap probably called them and said, we're wheels up at 1345, and the radio operator made a log entry. This form, while we call it a CAP form 110, it all has been around for a long time. It's also the logging form that the Air Force used for their HF stations. They ran a I think they still do have somewhat of a network of HF stations in various places around the world to relay air-ground communications.
They're rebuilding it.
Yeah, they use a copy of the same form. It just has a different form number. Keep it in a typewriter. I don't know if they do that. I'm dating myself now. It used to be in a typewriter, and the radio operator went over and typed the log entry in it. Now it's probably computerized. Any questions? And here's a copy of the ICS 309. And again, it's for multi-agencies. It looks like they also have the amateur radio emergency service and radio amateur civil emergency service on here. Same type of information, the incident name or activation number, the operational period, the radio net name, the radio operator. And of course, that would be whoever initiated the log. If the operator would change, they'd make an entry down in the body of it at the time, and they would put their name, title, and on duty. But as you can see in the body of it, time, the call sign of who you talked to, message number if it was a formal message, and what the message was. Okay, the second type of log is the net control station log. If you should have the opportunity to be a net control station of a radio net. There's not a CAP form number. I think in CPR 100-3 attachment 1, there's some examples of a log you could use. You can computerize this. And again, any logs you do on computer, you need to save those. You either need to download it and save it in the file. Don't just get rid of it and erase it. You need to keep a copy of it. So the net control station will record the calls of all stations checking in, keep a record of all formal messages handled, keep a record of all informal messages and conversations or gist of such, make note of any channel changes, make note of any unusual occurrences and the operational difficulties. Did a station check in and you were unable to contact them later? And the net control station name and CAP ID. Now, informal messages, conversations are the gist of such. On our local VHF net, several times there's announcements made, announcement of an upcoming communications exercise or something like that. So if the net control station would make note of that whoever, Bluebird 52 reported communications exercise July 23rd. So just that there's a record that was transmitted. Any channel changes on our HF nets, especially at 430, propagation's terrible. The net control station usually moves from GLC to GLD, from Golf Lima Charlie to Golf Lima Delta. So you'd make a note of that. It changed to Golf Lima Delta. No additional check-ins or something like that. Any unusual occurrences? Anything if you're trying to send a message and ALE comes up and the ALE kind of obliterates your ability to communicate, you might make a note of that. If propagation drops off, you might make a note of that. Tuesday morning, I think it was Tuesday morning, before the national traffic net starts, the tri-blade stations who are net control and assistant net control always make a traffic announcement. And at 5 till 9, they were all loud and clear. By quarter after 9, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear any net calls. I couldn't hear the net control station. So propagation dropped out just within that 15-minute period. That would be an unusual occurrence that you would probably want to log. Those are just some samples. Colonel Bartel, you have anything else you want to add?
No, other than for anybody that's curious about propagation, don't worry about that right now. That's a whole day class all by itself, telling you how this stuff works and doesn't work, and the fact that ALE makes your life much easier in the HF world. But anyway, okay, no, let's just go on here. Here's a message log example. Let's see. What do I have over there? Nah, I can't do that. Okay. Yeah, that's the one that's in the, was it attachment 1, I think, or attachment 2 of the 100-3. So for that's for the month of December of 2014. You can see the date up there. And they've got their message number, which means the number they would transmit as their log entry in the far left-hand column. So their message number 1 was sent to them from AVS. You can see that in the receive from column. And it was AVS's message number 7. And the date time group that message was received, and what time they actually received it. And then if they retransmitted it to somebody, they would indicate the time there. So that's basically what a message log does. And you can see it's just sequential down the left-hand side. And each time they get a call, they record the information and the station they're receiving from, their message number. Let's wander down here. Bring that down a little bit. There we go. That's my personal log of messages handled here. You'll notice at the end of the year, I started all over with message number 1 again. And each time I received a message, the date I got it, what the message was, the date time group and the originator on the message, who I got it from. In this case, TriBlade 40 and their message number 2. And that was just a review definition of group count. That's not the whole message. It's just my synopsis of what that message dealt with. So again, TriBlade 40 and his message number. Should I come back here in, say in June, and say I have a question in my mind about that message number 2 from TriBlade 40, I would call him on HF and ask him, hey, I need some information on your message number 2. And he can go back to his log, see that message number 2 was intercom 345, and he could give me any information he wanted, he had about it that I might have needed. So yeah, this is my current log. I'm up to number 35 for the year so far. So the last one I got was intercom 372. So again, I'm just numbering sequentially down from my message numbers. So when I get the message number or the next message number, intercom 373, which will be coming out next Wednesday, if nothing else comes out in the meantime, like a Whiskey Tango message or something else in the way of a formal message, my next number up is 36. And I just complete my log and just keep building my message numbers as they go. So that's the idea of the message numbers. These are my numbers. So if I'm going to transmit this out, I'm going to tell somebody, this is my message 35. And it's intercom 372. So the received was number 72 from TriBlade 40. Mine, if I send it out, is going to be 35. And if you were to be copying this message, you would write down the incoming message number 35, and whatever line number on your log is what you would place for your outgoing. That's where it's at in your log. So are there any questions about that? Does that seem to clear up some concept for people?
If you should have any questions several months from now, go to Appendix 7 in CAPR 100-3. There's a message passing checklist.
Yep.
And it has these guidelines detailed when to assign the message numbers to them.
Okay, let's see. What's this next one? Right here. Okay. Everybody can read that, right? No, I'm sure you can't, because I can't read it.
Now we can read.
What you've got is the Intercom 372 I was just talking about. You notice I put Tri-Blade 40's number 72 here. That's the person sending it to me. That's their message number. And it lives on line 35 of my message log. And there's the routine, there's the daytime group, the intercom. There's my word count. Again, in this Word doc format, I could highlight this text just like that. And in the bottom corner, it will tell me how many words there are. So that's a trick to do when you're typing them up like this. At the bottom of this form, I received this message from Tri-Blade 40 at a particular date and time, which is hard to read. And then put my initials here because I'm the operator that received that. So that's kind of what it is. That's where the message number fits in and how it's reflected on the actual message form. So we go here. Does anybody have any questions about what we've just been covering? Or any questions on how the message number applies? I hope we cleared it up because I noticed it was kind of an issue on a lot of these.
There was a question someone had about what do we put for the incoming message number if you're the originator. There is no incoming message number.
Right.
Your outgoing message number.
Yeah, because you didn't receive it from anybody. Only if you receive it from somebody else, another radio station, do you put an incoming message number. If you're writing it, nope. All that's going on there is your outgoing message number. Any other questions?
Just quick on this communication log that we're doing now, or during this thing, are we supposed to be using local time or Zulu time?
You know, since there's folks on here from all around the country, let's use Zulu time.
And it was mentioned earlier on the call, Zulu time is 5 hours plus 5 of what our local time is, in case anybody was wondering. So local time plus 5. So it's going for 1:45 in the morning over at the Zulu type world at the moment. So, okay, if there are no questions, we'll put this one down.
I guess we might as well move on into conducting scheduled checks.
Yeah, because that will take care of our position reporting requirement also.
Yeah.
Let me conducting scheduled checks. There we go. That one. Go here. There we go. Okay, now we'll share that. Okay, everybody see that?
It's coming up,
Okay.
but it went away.
What do you mean it went away?
It started to come up and it disappeared.
Does anybody else have that same issue? Or are you seeing this? Because I'll reshare if that's the case.
Well, some people still see it. I'm not for some reason.
Okay, let me stop sharing. I'll come back here.
Now what did I hit? I probably hit some kind of button.
Shame
I
on you.
confused myself.
There we go. Let me do this again. Okay, it should be up there.
I must have hit some kind of button. It starts to come up and then it doesn't. Okay. I'm going to try hitting some various things.
Okay.
I shouldn't do that.
Oh, be adventurous. Okay.
Since you're presenting, but I'm not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me know when you get it up there. In the meantime, I'm going to move on to the next slide.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Every time a mission or a mission sortie departs space, there are a list of required check-ins that they have to make. It's required of them. There are also scheduled checks. We usually do it at the bottom and the top of each hour, roughly at a 30-minute interval. So it could be at the quarter and the 45, top and bottom. Doesn't matter. Needs to be every 30 minutes. The check-ins they're required to make is that pre-departure radio check. You know, we looked at that a little earlier. We talked about it in that log before, and you'll see a little more of it in here. When they depart mission base, we need to be told, you know, when they're leaving, the wheels up time from the example, or in the other example, when ground team 1 was departing Clow, they departed their base and were reporting to Clow. They have to report these things. When they arrived at their assigned location, we have to know it. So if you've got a grid you're searching, then you tell us when you got into the grid. If you're at a state park to do a missing person search, you'd let us know when you arrived at the park. Whatever you're doing, when you arrive at the place where you're going to begin what you were assigned to do, that's when you tell us you arrived at your assigned location. Oh, I left some stuff off of here. When you leave that assigned location, whether you're coming back to base, whether you're going somewhere else, we need to know when you leave that first assigned position. And then I think I've got more stuff on that later. We also want an ETA to where you're going, so we know when you're expected. And when you arrive back on base, we need to know. And that is particularly important for any of those of you out there who are flying types. That wheels down time is extremely important. Okay, and I'll go into that a little more later. So these are your required check-ins. So again, each sortie is briefed on what radio channels they're going to be using during their sortie. And that information comes from ICS 205, which is the Mission Communications Plan. And during their radio check, they will test each channel that they've been assigned. That does a couple of things for us. That tells us, A, your radio is working. B, if it's not working, we can come out and send somebody out to help you figure out what's wrong with the radio. C, that you can find the channel you're supposed to be on. You can figure out how to move to another channel and then find your way back to the channel you're supposed to be on for the mission. So as you see in here, here's the exchange that would take place. Mission base, ground team 1, radio check, over. Now, I show on CC1, you never say what channel you are on. You just call. And then mission base would respond, ground team 1, you are loud and clear. Go to cap guard, out. So now I've just told them change channels. They're going to change their channel to cap guard, which for all those of you that are wondering, channel 5 in all of our Johnson radios is cap guard. They're going to call again. Mission base, this is ground team 1, over. They're not going to say on cap guard. They're going to go there. They're going to do it there, but they're not going to say the channel they're on. Mission base will come back with ground team 1, you're loud and clear. Go to Charlie, Charlie 1, out. That was their original assigned channel. That's where they started from. But we aren't going to say that. We just told them what channel to go to. Then the ground team calls us back again. Mission base, this is ground team 1, over. And we're going to say ground team 1, loud and clear, over. And mission base is, and they're going to come back with ground team saying mission base, this is ground team 1, roger, out. And now their radio check is complete. Now, that was only 2 channels. if they're assigned to work with an aircraft, there'd be another channel in there. So we'd want to make sure that they can find their way to every channel that they're assigned to use based on that comm plan. Okay. Anybody have a question about the comm or the radio check, the purpose of it, and how to do it?
I see the slides now. This was a case of I should listen to my own advice and don't touch anything.
Don't. Okay, sounds good. All right, that's good. I don't hear any questions, so we'll move on to the next slide. Departure from mission base.
Hey,
Yeah.
Bob, one question. Bob?
Yeah, this is Jim and Dave who are.
I mean, Jim, I'm sorry. John Jaguar. Is there any reason why you cannot ask what channel you're on?
Yes, it's an OPSEC violation. You never identify the channel you are using. You can say the channel that you're going to go to, but you don't say it when you're there. Because we have a lot of people that are listening to our conversations. And we really don't want to give them any more information than we have to. Now, that doesn't mean they don't already know it. That's okay. But all of our information is for official use only. So therefore, we don't associate a channel name and a channel number together, or we don't identify what channel number or name that we're using. We all know what we're on, but we don't want to be giving information out to all those people that are listening to us. Now, is that paranoia? No. News trucks, every single one of them have scanners in there that will listen to everything we do if we're out on a mission. And also, does anybody out there have inkling of what a magazine called Monitoring Times is? That's a magazine dedicated and run by radio scanners. All the amateurs, all the people that go out there and they've got nothing better to do but sit in front of a radio all day long and pick out nifty little tidbits, and they will identify things. I have in the past been able to go into that magazine, and I found my call sign in there because they were monitoring and said, yeah, there was a communication between, we believe, DuPage County Airport and a Red Fox 79er. We think they were doing a hybrid exercise and they were using this channel. That will be right in that magazine because they monitor everything military that they can too. So we don't want to give them any more information than we have to over the air. So we never identify the channel we are on. Does that make it clear, George?
It's Ron. Okay.
Ron, I'm sorry.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Certainly. Okay, so here's just a couple of quick exchanges. An aircraft, mission bases, Cap 1147 over. Mission base, Cap 1147. This is mission base over. And here I want to emphasize, they never give information until communications is established 2 ways before they say anything else. So, and now established communications. Aircraft, wheels up at 1521 Zulu, over. And mission base, Roger, wheels up at 1521 Zulu, over. And the aircraft comes back and says, read back correct, Cap 1147 out. So, we are in the habit as communicators that when they give us information that is specific, that has to be logged, we read it back to them to make sure that we have the right information. Same with the ground team. Mission base is ground team 1, over. Ground team 1, this is mission base, over. Ground team 1 departed base at 1530 Zulu, over. Roger, departed base at 1500 Zulu, over. And in this case, that's my typo right there. But so they would actually come back and say negative, departed base at 1530 Zulu. And then I would come back, Roger, departed base at 1530 Zulu. And then they come back and say, read back correct, ground team 1 out. So I just caught my own typing error. Yay. But that's something that would happen on an actual mission. Somebody may write down the wrong information, but they read it back and get it corrected. So, wish I'd have written that in there. That's a good point. So anyway, that's a departure from base. Like I said, we got a few of these. And by the way, this is all what we were talking about with informal traffic earlier. Arrival and search area. So, okay, this is just an air crew. Ground team would follow the same format, but it's mission bases, Cap 1147, over. Cap 1147, this is mission base, over. Entering the grid at 1612 Zulu, over. Mission base, entering the grid at 1612 Zulu, over. And aircraft read back correct, Cap 1147 out. So, again, they're very fast, they're quick exchanges that get the necessary information where it needs to go. And again, ground team, just substitute ground team for most of this, and you have the same thing. Okay. When you're departing a search area, same thing. Ground teams would be very similar to this, so we'll stick with the aircraft side of this, but when you leave an area, mission base is Cap 1147, over. Cap 1147, this is mission base, over. We're departing the grid at 1705 Zulu. We are RTB, over. Mission base says Roger, departing grid at 1705 Zulu. And RTB, what is your ETA? Over. The aircraft will come back and say, readback is correct. Our ETA is 25 minutes, over. Roger, ETA 25 minutes, over. And that's affirmative, Cap 1147 out. Why do you think, somebody tell me why they think an ETA is important?
You want to know if your aircraft is overdue, so you can start looking for them.
Exactly. Exactly. When are they expected in? We are expecting that wheels down time from them about that time, give or take a couple of minutes. But if they were due back in 25 minutes and it's 45 minutes later now and I haven't heard from them, where are they? We need to know. So that's why the ETA is very, very important to us. There's another part of this that I'll talk about here in a minute. Okay, arrival at base. They've got to report their arrival back on base, and here's your sample. It's mission bases, Cap 1147, over. Cap 1147, this is mission base, over. Again, there's your establishing communications. Our wheels down, 1742 Zulu, over. Roger. Wheels down, 1742 Zulu, over. Aircraft readback correct. Cap 1147 out. Again, for the pilot types out there, or mission aircrew people, this is a very, very important step, the wheels down time. I mean, okay, so you're on the ground, you've gone in, you got some coffee. What does it matter whether comm knows whether you're there or not? Well, it is. It's very important. I'm going to throw one quick war story in here on an exercise out of Springfield. We had an aircraft that was, so they gave us an ETA of a particular time, and they didn't report wheels down. And it's like 20 minutes past their wheels down time. And about that time, another aircraft, CAP aircraft with departing mission base, gave us their wheels up time and reported hearing an ELT just west of the field. What's my first thought? I've got an aircraft that didn't report wheels down. They're 20 minutes overdue, and somebody says there's an ELT going off the west end of the field. That gives your heart a real quick tick right then and there, because that could be our plane that decided, well, okay, send down 5 miles short of the field. It's not going to hurt anything, right? But anyway, as it turned out, we sent somebody over to the flight line, looked for the aircraft. It was sitting on the ground right there, and it just never made its wheels down report. But in any case, wheels down is extremely important to us for just that reason. That could have been our plane with that ELT going off, and we need to come looking for you. You don't want us to just say, they're back, and not worry about it. Okay? All right. Status reports. Okay. Every 30 minutes, we're going to want what we call an ops normal check from you when you're off base, either in the air or on a ground team. And we're going to do that at the top and the bottom of each hour. Illinois does it by roll call. At the top and bottom, we open a net and make a roll call of all our stations that are off base. Other states don't necessarily do that. They rely on the aircraft and the ground teams to watch the clock and report in 30 minutes, or make a call to them if they don't hear from them. And that either way is fine. We just decided to do it a different way. But the 30-minute report contains your operational status, usually ops normal. I haven't heard of something different than that just yet. It would include your position, and the GPS coordinates come in degrees and minutes decimal. So it would be like 47 degrees, 20.25 minutes would be part of that. That's how it would be. And that format is generally predetermined. This is the preferred format, but it's always predetermined before you leave. So we need to have it from you in this format. For aircraft, not so much for ground teams, we need your altitude. And then their operations may have you reporting other things to us based on what they want. But these are the things that we're going to need from you. Okay, so a typical status report coming up on the next slide. So an aircraft might come up and say mission bases, Cap 1147 over. Cap 1147, this is mission base over. Status report, ops normal, position 42 degrees, 21 minutes by 88 degrees, 15 minutes, altitude 1700 over. Roger ops normal, 42 degrees, 21 minutes by 88 degrees, 15 minutes, altitude 1700 over. Hey, aircraft, read back correct. Cap 1147 out. Okay, but that's how we would do a position report using the degrees. Now, you were talking about minutes decimal a minute ago, and you're going to see down here in the ground team when we do that. With the aircraft, I don't care so much. All I want is degrees and minutes from them. I may be taking up some of my next slide, but that's okay. Degrees and minutes only. From the ground teams, we want degrees in the decimal minutes. So, okay. Mission base, this is ground team 1, over. Ground team 1, this is mission base, over. Ground team, status report, we are ops normal, position 41 degrees, 12.23 minutes by 88 degrees, 11.537 over. And mission base, roger ops normal, 41 degrees, 12.32 by 88 degrees, 11.537 over. Read back, ground team, read back correct, ground team 1 out. So, I corrected my spelling error for you all to see. Anyway, that's how you would give a position report for where you're at the given time. Let's take a peek at this next slide and see what that is. Right, okay. Degrees and minutes only from an aircraft, because by the time they've opened their mouth to talk to us, they're not there anymore. Their GPS has changed. So what we want them to do is before they call us with their op report, or we call them with their ops report for their ops report, they're going to write down their latitude and longitude at that point in time. when they're writing. So it'll be a minute ahead of time. That's okay. Aircraft isn't going to be there. What we want is that position so we can use it as a last known position for an aircraft should they go missing on us. And if we have to send people out to go look for them, we have a starting point. And we'll search from there. So that lat long serves no purpose really other than, yeah, we can keep an idea of where they're at because Ops is tracking them on a map, or we may be trapping them on a map. But it's really there in case they disappear. We have a start point to go look for them. Okay. Ground teams, we take the full decimal minute because it can make a difference for them. They don't move quite as fast as the aircraft does. And if they show an indication on their lat long that says they're further away than they should be, like they're moving faster than the aircraft, then we're going to have some questions for them. Somebody's got a heavy foot. Now, we don't need the words north or west on those reports because we know we're not in Europe and we know we're not in South America. So we don't need those. So we can shorten the time of the transmission up by leaving. I don't need 42 degrees, 21 minutes north by 88 degrees, 15 minutes west. Again, doesn't take much time, but we don't need it. We know where we're at. Okay. Okay, and we're going to go more into this in a little bit, but there are other necessary times that you need to report back to base, and those are when you report clues or finds, which we're going to, again, talk about shortly. Ground team, you're topping for food or fuel. Yeah, we need to know that. Any type of vehicle mishaps you may have or malfunctions. If an aircraft needs to return to base or land off base for unforeseen circumstances, such as, well, somebody drank too much coffee and we need to do a bio break. It may be bumpy up there and somebody gets sick, or the aircraft may have a malfunction, in which case you're going to handle your malfunction first and then let us know about it once things are safe again. Okay. Any situations that are out of the ordinary needs to be reported back to base. Let's see. What's I got here? Okay, this is missed check-in procedures. A ground team could be in a valley or somewhere out of range and we can't talk to them. An aircraft may be 150 miles away from mission base and down at a search altitude. They're at 1,500 feet. They're not going to talk to mission base at that range. It just isn't going to happen. Here in Illinois, every CUL should have a documented procedure for what steps to take if somebody fails to answer to roll call or not make that op check that we were looking for. Major Philipper, you're a CUL, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll need to make sure you get a copy of this book also, because we've got a pretty much standard book that we operate from for the CULs. So I'll make sure everybody gets on the same page. So I will send you links to that. Okay. But there are written procedures in there for what to be done in what order if somebody fails to answer. For you as an operator, we have a clipboard in front of you that has the script you're going to follow for doing your half-hour check-in roll call. Means you'll make a general announcement saying we're going to do roll call in 1 minute. Please respond with your op status and position. That's when teams, air and ground, are writing down stuff so they can know what to say before they hit the mic. On the flip side of that sheet of paper, if you flip it over, there's your instructions for what happens, what to do next if somebody doesn't answer. So it's a documented thing. I know the Air Force will come along and ask us at any eval. That's one of their evaluation steps. Do you have a process for a missed check-in? And they do tend to make people go missing intentionally. just to see if they can catch us at this. They haven't been successful here for quite a few years in catching us on that, just because of the way we do it. But they will make a ground team or an aircraft disappear intentionally. So anyway, if you're at mission base, if somebody doesn't respond on your roll call, you let your CUL know, and the CUL is going to take a particular action. Usually, just monitor the situation until all the other steps are done. When you're done calling the rest of the roll call and have talked to everybody else, now you go back to that unit and call them again. If you don't get them, try to relay through any aircraft that you may have out. Because they may be up higher, and because their antenna is at 1,000 feet, mine's only at 30 feet. They have a much better range than I do, and somebody on the ground 200 miles away will be able to hear that aircraft, but not me. So I'll attempt for a relay through an aircraft. For a relay for a ground team, I may ask them to relay for me and see if they can contact the ground team. And then if we can't contact the ground team, we'll try the cell phones. We don't, except in an absolute life or death emergency, use cell phones from the air. It's against all kinds of regulations, not only but CAP, Air Force, and FCC all have rules against using cell phones from airplanes. The ones you get in the aircraft when you make calls, they're very special units. So anyway, this is where I said, if you have no written process here, you as the MRO need to work with your CUL to create one right there on the scene at the time on how you might be able to get that information. So any questions on that on this check-in? Any questions in any of that presentation? And that's your task L0007, by the way.
And I think L0008 is included in that too, the sending a position report.
Position report, right.
L0007 and 0008.
Yep, both were covered in here. When we go back to sending a position report here. So when you have to send a position report, these are the samples of how you would send a position report. You're always going to, when you're out, you're going to figure out where you're at. Ground team, you're going to look at your GPS. Aircraft going to look at your GPS and tell us. So if somebody calls you and asks for a position report, you can look at your GPS, give it to them just like this, and you're done. Okay. So yeah, L7007 and 008. So, okay. Entertaining questions. I'm either very good at telling this or nobody's asking questions. I always love silence. That's why I like being in a real classroom. I can pick on people and ask questions.
I think we will ask questions in a little bit.
Yep. We'll do some reviewing. Don't worry. Just as long as you've memorized everything from 3 weeks ago till tonight, you'll be really good with the questions. So, okay. Now I can see your faces. See, when I'm presenting, I can't see anybody's faces. So I can't see when somebody looks confused or making rude gestures towards me in the phone because you don't like what I'm saying. So, anyway. Okay. Well, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I want to take about 5, and then
Yeah.
we'll go into clues, reporting a clue or a find.
Yep, and that's going to be very short too. I think there's only about 3 slides to that.
I got 8:17, so we'll meet again at 8:22, 8:23.
Yep, sounds good.
Get a drink of water.
I noticed we had several people on here from the great state of Delaware. Yeah, I see you. What part of Delaware, roughly?
We're actually right outside of Newark, Delaware. Our squadron is North Chesapeake. We're in Maryland, but we're Delaware wing, just in Maryland. Mhm.
Okay. No, I was just curious because I've got a cousin that lives in Middletown, Delaware, and a good friend of mine that I know from NISA that lives in Townsend, Delaware. So I was out there a couple of years ago visiting and got to wander through your state. But yeah, it's cool because I know some people that live out there. He's one of our tribal aid stations for that matter, so we hear him every now and then. So. Let's see. Which one are we going to do next? This one. I see a question from a Teresa asking, that's pointed at me, I assume. This is Jim. And that's no. No. It actually takes both hands and one toe now to count the number of times I've been in CAP aircraft in my 53 years in the organization. People may have heard of the movie Easy Rider from a long time ago. I come under the heading of a queasy flyer. So, no, I don't get in airplanes. Occasionally I do if I know the pilot really well and I know he's going to be gentle with me. Am I a baseball game announcer? No. My radio personality is strictly for CAP. I save it for all my closest friends. Michael Pets and AT&T. Yes, yes. But that's been a while ago, Michael. I retired from them 12 years ago. Now it is so hard to believe.
Yeah, I was at a campment with you right after you retired, I think.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I can't believe it's been that long ago. But
and you're enjoying every minute of it, huh?
Enjoying every minute of it. Well, this past week, actually for this past month, I've been doing CAP virtual meetings between 4 and 5 nights a week. And during the day, I get to sit here on this hard wooden bench where my computer is at for about 4 or 5 hours, making up some of these PowerPoints that we're looking at tonight, and at other times. So, yeah, it's a wooden bench for 8 hours a day. I'm definitely ready for something softer.
Yeah, he's been a great assist with the PowerPoints. Or you'd be looking at my handwriting on stuff.
We'll have to get you a pillow.
Yeah, well, I've got one too.
Thank you.
But even after 4 hours of that pillow, this bench is hard. That's all there is to it. Yeah. So how do we get the task?
Yes, that was last week. That was L0004.
Teresa, what's behind me? A very, very ancient household thing called a household intercom and music system. It plays cassette tapes or has AM/FM radio. It hasn't been on in a while, but yeah, it does have an intercom feature to it.
Is that a new tone product?
Is that a new tone product? I don't see a name on it anywhere. It probably is.
Looks
yeah. At this range, I can't read it, so I need to change the glasses. But yeah, hopefully everybody's putting in the chat what they've completed so far tonight, and that's P0101, L0007, and L0008 has been done tonight. L0004.
That was last. Well, that was last week's.
Yes. Yeah, 4 was last week. Yeah. And then people can go put those things in with either Major Felber's ID or my ID, also at the top of the chat list, for credit for these. I'm trying to get them approved just as soon as I download the list of the chat log and make sure that you enter the information in the chat. If it's not there, I don't generally approve the task.
Kurt, if we joined after you did, we don't see your chat. So we don't have your cap ID.
Okay.
And Teresa Maris, it's P0101.
If we've already been signed off on 0101, we don't have to resubmit that, correct?
That's correct. How long ago were you signed off on it?
Let me double check real fast. It looks like 26 June this year.
Okay, then no, don't worry about it. I'd say if the last time you did it was 2018, I'd probably want to update it with the new date.
Yeah, some of these tasks intertwine with like mission radio operator, ground team, and scanner. So some of these common ones are going to go over through several different courses. So.
Yeah, and that's why I suggested, I think I saw some of them that were in 2018. I figure you might want to go ahead and put the new date in there, because you do have to renew these things every so often. Every 3 years, you got to renew these qualifications. So every time you do a mission, always put in the tasks you've done at that mission for that date, and you'll be covered by the time the 3 years is up. And if there's any particular task you need, talk to your CUL, and we can get those tasks covered for you.
Okay. Well, it's 8:26, so you're ready to press on. I am.
I don't like ironing. Okay. Now these slides I borrowed right out of another presentation that's being reviewed at the moment, but that's okay. You'll get those eventually, but you're going to get them early. As we mentioned, every time you're out on a mission, you're going to be reporting clues or finds, and there's things you have to keep in mind for that. Okay. Always observe OPSEC reporting, or OPSEC when you're doing a clue or a find. You're not going to be giving out too much information over the radio. There's advanced planning that goes into how you're going to make these reports. So if you find this, you're going to report it this way. You know, I'll give you an example of that here in a minute. And position. Anytime you find something or find a clue, you're going to want to report where it's at. And then you're going to look at your GPS and you're going to report it. Again, there's CAP grid formats. There's degrees, minutes, seconds, and degrees, and we call it decimal minutes or minutes decimal. The format that we saw in the last slide group. Those of you that are doing the ground team or scanner type stuff, you're certainly familiar with CAP grids and how to read them. So we're not going to go into that here and tonight. Let's do this. No, I can't do that. How do I move? Okay. I guess I can't do it that way. Okay. Objectives are a little hard to read there for you guys. You need to be able to report the location of a clue using a format agreed upon in advance. Again, that's why the advanced planning is necessary. You need to be able to describe the clue concisely and accurately. What did you find? And the position of the find or clue. Where did you find it? Okay. That's actually two things of the same thing. I love that. I'll have to talk to them about that. Do not assume in any way, shape, or form that the clue or the find that you've just made is the actual target you're looking for. All you're going to do is report details or report facts, not guesses, not what you might think. Report facts. Okay. So number 4 says, be available to avoid use of words that assume that the clue or find is pertinent to the search. Don't give a diagnosis of any kind, or hey, don't say somebody's dead. You know, good thing. So always observe OPSEC in the reporting process here. So those are general items. Felix, I know you've got a lot of, I see you joined us now. You have a lot of slides specifically on reporting clues or finds. They're probably very similar to these. These are out of the RADO material, by the way. But anyway, okay. Let's see, next page. So we're reporting a clue. So you're serving with the ground team, and you're looking for a missing person. You see a blue wool hat with a thin black stripe. And you recall that a family member mentioned that that subject had a blue wool hat with a black stripe. You're going to report that as a clue, but you aren't going to assume that it's necessarily that person's clue or that person's hat. You're going to report that you found a blue hat with a black stripe and where you found it. And that is all. It's not for you to judge that that is, in fact, that person's hat. You're not going to do that over the radio. You're going to give a good, exact description of it, where exactly you found it. And again, only facts, no assumptions. Okay. Okay. Any questions about that? Again, this is going to be a short presentation. I think I got 2 more slides, 1 more slide. So Felix, feel free to jump in here if you got something to add here too.
Not too much. We actually didn't go over this in the ground team training, but yeah, basically anything that's pertinent and even things you notice that you may think that, oh, that doesn't matter, report that anyway, because it may matter to someone.
Yes. Yeah, you know, again, anything that could be a clue, report it, even if it doesn't make sense to you necessarily. You know, if you're looking for a missing 3-year-old and you find a couple of cigar stubs and an empty whiskey bottle sitting on the side of the path, does that have anything to do with your missing 3-year-old? Don't know. Could. If that person was taken rather than just wandered off, it could be significant. You don't know. So, hey, report it, exactly what you found and where you found it, and base is going to decide, you know, is this pertinent to our search? So, again, just give them facts on what you found and no assumptions. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Again, reporting a find. This is a good one because approximately 1 mile beyond where you found that hat, you find a person lying on the ground. And that person appears to match the description of the person you're looking for, but they're cold, stiff, and unresponsive. Oops. Now, when you make this, remember how you arranged with Mission Base at the beginning how you're going to report stuff. Okay. Is there anybody out there that thinks you should get on the radio and report we found the dead guy along the side of the path? seeing as I can't see you all and the faces you may be making at me, I'm going to assume that's nobody believes that, and that's true. You would never say anything like that. 2 reasons. You can assume because they're cold, stiff, and unresponsive, they're possibly dead, but you can't prove that because you're not a doctor. And cold, stiff, and unresponsive could be somebody in hypothermia or severe hypothermia. So you don't know at that point. So you report what you find without making an assumption that that's the person you're actually looking for. And I know I would believe that if you're going to report that the person is cold, stiff, and unresponsive, that's not going to come over the radio. You're going to agree ahead of time that if you've got information on a particular victim, do it over a cell phone, because then nobody's going to listen into you. I would report this as I'd like to report a find, need assistance from the county sheriff, and let them come out. They can do all the other stuff for you. You made the find. You've gotten county sheriff assistance. They can call an ambulance, coroner, whatever is necessary. Again, I'm not going to go in too much into the ground team aspect of this, but you protect the site, leave it alone in that case, and just report it in. Again, description of the position, concise and accurate description of what you found, the location, and again, only facts, no assumptions.
And so if I can say something about that, this hasn't happened quick war story. This hasn't happened to me on a CAP ground team, but I volunteer with a lot of different, other ground teams through like county EMAs and other private organizations and stuff over the years. And I've had that happen on a few missions before where people have called, not our team, but somebody else on the radio, hey, we found a dead guy, right over the radio, plain as day. So this happens with professional search teams too. So, yeah. So just be cautious.
Yeah. I mean, you might be tempted to say, yes, we found the crashed airplane. Yeah, the pilot's dead. His head's laying in the back seat. That is not something you want every scanner in the country that's listening to you picking up on. That is the last thing in the world that the family may want to hear, because either they got a scanner or they may be wandering through the comm area at that time. That's not the way they find out the condition of their loved one. So again, you have to really think about what you're going to put out over the air, and is it appropriate? And again, if they're hurt badly, yeah, we've located our target, but we need medical assistance. Mission base can have an ambulance sent out, or you suspect they're actually dead, then okay, you can request the county sheriff out. Let them determine, do they want to call an ambulance, do they want to call the coroner, like I said. But again, really watch what you say over the radio and be careful with it. Kirk said his, I remember wandering by the radio room one day, and I happened to listen to a conversation that was going on from a ground team that interviewed somebody, and they just said, yeah, we interviewed the farmer. He said he saw bodies falling from the sky. And I just stopped and backed up and looked at the radio and said, did I really hear that? That's not appropriate for anybody to be using over the radio. Cell phones work pretty well these days. And yes, we don't use them as a method of reliable communications, but we do use them for transmitting information that we don't want to put out over the air. Another way of doing it, perhaps, that might be safer, if we talked about the radios in encrypted mode, that does cut all the world out except other CAP stations. So if that's an option, that could be done. So, okay, Felix, anything to add on the reporting of clue or find?
Nope, nothing from my end.
Okay, good. Major Felper, anything to add?
No, we kind of kept this short because when you look at the context of this class, you're going to be on the receiving end of these messages if you're working in a mission base. If you're on the ground team, then you'll be doing the reporting. That's part of the ground team training. But we tried to approach it from the fact that you are going to be on the receiving end and going to be receiving these messages. We wanted you to have an idea of what they would be and then what you need to do with them. And of course, you need to log it in your log, and whatever other information you're given, that has to be reported upward. It just doesn't stop with you. You just don't write it in the log and forget about it. You then to report the information about the clue or the find to whoever you are told to report it to, either the ground branch director or the communications unit leader. And also, once they report the clue or the find, they're going to be standing by for further guidance. They'll usually say standing by for additional instructions. So you're going to be using that pro word wait or wait out. Say they gave you the information about the clue, tell them wait out, report it to the ground branch director. He's probably going to have you send some return information, some return instructions to them. So be ready for that. But we wanted you to be aware of that from this viewpoint, being the receiving end of this information.
Yeah, and you're going to find when you do go out into a comm center, we've given you the basic forms that you're going to find anywhere and everywhere, that being the CAP Form 110 radio log, the ICS Form 213 message log, and the CAP 214 activity log or unit activity log. You'll find those in any state in the country. You go out in Illinois and you're going to get surprised because there are about a half dozen other forms you need to learn that we've kind of specially made up. And one of them is the message form we were kind of just referring to that says, hey, when a team finds something or makes a report, a message form goes over to operations with all that information detailed as to who said it, when they sent it, what they found, where they found it. And there's a spot on there for operations to respond if there's further instructions. So yeah, there are a few other forms that, like I said, we're not going to go into in this class because they're kind of unique to Illinois. But every state will have a message form of some sort that will get information from you as the radio operator to the air operations or ground operations branch people. Because as Major Felber mentioned, you are never the end point of a conversation. You are only a person in the middle between the ground team and the ground branch director, or the air crew and the air operations branch director. So we have to make sure that information gets two ways between the air crew, ground team, and their people that are giving them direction. We're just a hollow tube, basically, that just passes information between the 2 points. So, and it's got to be accurate. So, okay, I think that's the last slide here. Yep. Okay, any questions about reporting a clue or a find? Oh, someone's happy that it's over, right? Saw somebody clapping there. Yeah, again, that was going to be a real brief presentation on that. So again, if you've got any questions, you've got my email. You can say them tonight. If you don't care to say them tonight, you've got my email. You've got Major Felber's email. Please contact one of us, and if there's something is not clear, we will do our best to clear it up for you. And again, I don't give you some of the personalized forms we've got here because I don't want you to go to the Delaware DC or a Delaware CUL or a Virginia CUL or a Florida CUL. I think I got somebody from Texas on there and say, well, this is the way it's supposed to be done. Well, no, the 110 form, the 213 and 214, yes. The other stuff, message forms and that, they're kind of unique to here, and your state will have different ways of doing things, perhaps. I know I've shared all my forms at NISA for the past 10 years with people from around the country, so maybe you've seen them or some derivative of them. But other than that, please contact us if you have any questions or confusion about anything. Communications related, by the way. Let me add that caveat in there.
Yeah.
Okay, dear Abby, I am not. You know. Okay, Major Felber, I'll turn it back to you here.
Okay. I think what we'd like to do for the remaining time this evening, we're not going to have time to run everyone through this, but I'd like to just have some sample communications. We covered position reports. We covered making scheduled radio checks. We covered reporting clues and finds. So I'd like to set up some radio communications for these exercises. I'm going to be a ground team or an air crew. Okay. And, well, let's just try this out and see how it goes. Who'd like to volunteer to be mission base? Anyone? Anyone want to be mission base? Already I can't establish communications with anyone.
Right.
Mike Petz, you want to be mission base?
Or quit laughing.
Okay, we're going to be real simple. I'm ground team 1. You're all mission base, and it's time for a radio check.
Ground team 1, this is mission base. Over.
Mission base says ground team 1, over.
Ground team 1, what is your location?
It's ground team 1. We're presently at 41 degrees, 22 minutes, 32 seconds. 38 degrees, 42 minutes, 29 seconds. Over.
Okay, ground team 1, I copy 41 degrees, 22 minutes, 22 seconds. 38 degrees, 42 minutes, 29 seconds.
You were unreadable. Say again, over.
Ground team 1, I copy 41 degrees, 22 minutes, 22 seconds. 38 degrees, 42 minutes, 29 seconds. Over.
Correct, Al.
Now, let me add.
So I have no idea where I was. I just came up with those numbers, and I should have made them decimal.
Well, that's one thing. Number 2, Michael. If you were at mission base, would you question that longitude? Because I'm not sure exactly where the coast of the United States is at as far as degrees, but that could be off the coast somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic or on the Jersey Shore somewhere.
Yeah, maybe swimming.
But if that's coming from your ground team and it puts them about 1,500 miles from where they were at the last position report, that might be something you'd want to question. You know, ask them to recheck their GPS and question that. Because we talked about they can drive fast, but damn, they can't drive that fast. And none of our planes will cover that distance in that length of time either. So, yeah, if it's something wildly outlandishly incorrect, go ahead and ask them about it.
Yeah. And notice I used the pro word "say again." I wanted to put that in there. I did not understand what you had said, so I said "say again," so you'd have to repeat it. But anyway, hopefully what we pointed there, it was short, concise, and to the point. Who else would like to try one? Anyone else? This will be easy. This one will just be a radio check.
You know what we can do is just scan up and down the chat list over there and just randomly pick a name, you know, and click on it and say, okay, you're it. Come on.
Audrey, you want to try it?
Sure.
Well, you're right at the top of the pictures on the screen. So this just, you're mission based, and you're just going to call me to conduct a radio check. Over.
Ground Team 1, this is mission based radio check.
This is Ground Team 1. You're good readable. Over.
Mission base out.
Okay. What you'd probably want to do in that exchange is also tell me how well you're hearing me.
Ground Team 1, I hear you loud and clear. Out.
Okay. That's fine. Now, as far as conducting radio checks, again, there's several terms you can use. You'll find them in CAPR 100-3. Loud and clear, good readable, weak unreadable, weak readable. Loud and clear with interference. There's several different terms that are highlighted in there. You know, one thing I've used, and it's just out of habit, I use the term fair readable. Fair does not show up in CAPR 100-3. I'm so used to using it, though, that I've continued. But you can see those various terms. As for the first term regards to signal strength, and the second term refers to intelligibility. So a station could be good unreadable because their signal's distorted or something. But you might want to look at those terms in there to see what they are. And one thing we want to try to get from this today is also so you don't hesitate. When you're operating a radio, you want to be ready. You want to know what you're going to be expected to do. If you know it's time for scheduled checks, you're going to be doing position reports, radio checks. You have those terminologies out in front of you ahead of time. That way you can know kind of what to expect. If you're doing radio checks, like as they're departing mission base, you know you're going to be using terms like weak readable, good readable, and usually using VHF on our VHF radios. Most of the time, unless they're way out on the outskirts, they're going to be good readable. Sometimes as a ground team, we'll get to the coverage limits. They'll start dropping out. Usually you're going to either be able to hear them or you're not going to be able to hear them. Same with an air crew. Usually if they're out 50, 60 miles and they have to descend to, they're at 5,000 feet and they're good readable, and suddenly they descend to 2,000 feet, you may not be able to hear them. So be ready to have those terms available. Anyone else want to give it a stab? Now's the time. The next time you'll actually be sitting in front of a radio and someone's going to be expecting an answer.
So I was going to say, I saw a lot of people shaking their head no when we started this. Like, you have to do this at least twice to get qualified. So you may want to start practicing now.
Yeah, you're going to have to do this somewhere, either on here or your next try. You're actually going to be talking over a radio. And don't forget, the person on the other end may not have done this for a while.
Or maybe their first time.
Yeah. So be prepared for that, too. Be prepared for someone who may be a bit hesitant.
I'll give it a try.
Who's that?
Alan Chansey.
Okay. Again, I'll be ground team 1. And let's do a clue. Let's see how this works. I've never reported a clue, so I have no idea what I'm going to say to you.
I've never taken one either, so.
Okay.
Good.
Mission base, this is ground team 1, over.
This is mission base, go ahead.
It's ground team 1. I have a clue to report. Are you ready to copy, over?
This is mission base, go ahead with your findings.
It's ground team 1. I'd like to report I found a red cigarette lighter. Location, southern end of grid STL 05 Alpha. Over.
Mission base, ground team 1 found red cap at STL 0. I shouldn't be giving that out. Found a red cap. Copy.
A correction, red cigarette lighter, red cigarette lighter.
I'm sorry, red cigarette lighter.
Over.
Mission base, correction, red cigarette lighter. Copy.
Say again to repeat our grid location. Over.
So you really want me to repeat the grid location over the radio?
Correct. Over.
Yeah, you're going to read back exactly what they gave you.
Mission base 2, ground team 1 found red cigarette lighter at grid STL05L5 Sierra Tango Lima 05 Lima 5. Copy.
A correction on grid. Grid location Sierra Tango Lima 05 Alpha. Over.
Correction. Mission base, correct grid, Sierra Tango Lima 05 Lima Alpha. Correct?
A correction. Sierra Tango Lima 05 Alpha. Over.
This is mission base. Correction of coordinates. Sierra Tango Lima 05 Alpha.
Correct. Over.
Mission base copy.
And don't forget over.
Over. Mission base copy. Over.
And mission basis is ground team 1. Be advised, we have marked the clue.
Conversation.
And request further instructions. Over.
This is mission based ground team 1. Affirmative, you have marked the clue. Stand by for any further. Copy.
Okay. In that case, you would have probably used the word pro word out, ended the conversation, and gone ahead and reported it upward. So let's say that you have done that. You've told the ground branch director, gave him the context of the message, and he instructed you to call us and tell us to return to base.
Mission based ground team 1. Over.
This ground team 1. Over.
Yes, this is mission base per ground team manager. Return to base. Over.
Roger, returning to base. Out.
Ground mission base. Over. Out.
Okay. So,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, let me say a couple of things here. One, once you've established communications, so you've gone through the ground team 1, this is mission base, over, and they say mission base is ground team 1, over. You don't need to keep saying mission base or ground team 1. You're already in a conversation. You've established that. Okay? The next time you're going to have to use those 2 call signs is when you end that conversation, or you leave and come back and have to reestablish. But as long as you've established that conversation, you do not need to be using this is mission base or this is ground team 1 at each transmission, at the beginning and at the end. Okay. Yeah, the word copy is not anywhere in our pro word list. I know I've been dinged on that by the Air Force when I've had operators use that, because it's not one of our lists of appropriate pro words. So Roger that, copy that. These are all things that don't exist in the way of real pro words. Roger does, which should be an appropriate response. You know, if they ask you something or said something, Roger, which means you understood. Okay.
trying to get this format after being in public safety for 43 years is a little different.
Yes, it is. And it's difficult making the transition. Not using 10 codes, which I know public safety uses a lot.
We have gone to plain text for the last 10 or 12 years of my career.
Okay. So it's a little easier than going, but yeah, a lot of times you get people that they're cops, and their cop language will end up on the CAP radio. And that's like, no, we can't use those kind of codes on CAP radio. People are amateur radio operators, and they'll start throwing Q codes in there.
So far, I haven't done that part yet.
Yeah. Did you get my message, QSL? What? Who? Where? What is it? No. None of those kind of terms are going to be used on CAP radio. Okay, I just want to make a couple comments on that last exchange.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why one thing we've done at our squadron, we tried to do it once a month, but of course we can't do it now, is we'll hand out 3 or 4 ISR radios or family radio service radios to the cadets, have them split apart to various sites where they're out of sight of each other, and we'll run through some of this stuff. We'll even have a practice mission where we'll simulate a ground team going out and finding something and reporting that. So this takes a lot of practice. It's not something you're going to learn overnight, especially if you haven't heard it before.
Now, I've got something that will help along that line. If anybody's interested, if you are, send me an email and I will get back to you. But we have what's called a table net. And it is basically comprised of scripts for a mission base, 1 ground team, and 4 aircraft to run the course of a mission. And it includes, wheels up time. It includes ETAs. It includes lat longs. It includes times, and a variety of things. It spans 13 time blocks. Okay, so that doesn't mean it's going to take you 13 hours, 13 minutes, whatever. It's whenever the moderator has the master script with what everybody is supposed to say. And as soon as everything for that one time block is completed, he'll tell you it's time for the next time block. Okay, and then everybody's got a script that says what they're supposed to do in each time block. So if you're instructed to call a mission base in that time block 1, you'll get on, you'll make a call. The script only gives you the information. It doesn't tell you word for word what to say. So you'll have to formulate the message as you would if you were that ground team and report that information to mission base and wait for their response. So if people would like copies of that table net, let me know, and I will send along copies. And you can ask any questions about it at the time, or if you got problems figuring out how to use it, I'll be glad to help you through that. But it's a great way of having 5 different locations, and each one of them have something different, rather than trying to make up something each time along the way. It's a pre-done script. It was originally created for Texas, their LISA program, Lone Star Emergency Services Academy, and it was used at NISA, and I borrowed it from NISA for Illinois, and I have, of course, modified it by changing locations to Illinois locations, call signs to Illinois call signs, and aircraft and ground teams and such. So feel free when you get it to modify it for your wing by putting in towns that you're familiar with and aircraft you're familiar with and such. But it's a handy tool, and I do use that every once in a while. So, okay. Major, anything further?
Yeah. Also, an additional help for the cruiser finds. If you look in the mission-based task guide, look under the L0009 task, and it has a sample format to follow to report a clue or find. And it's general. It doesn't use call signs. It doesn't use the locations, but it does give you a template to use to make your report. I was not using it. I think if we had both been using it, it would have gone a lot more smoothly. But you might refer to that template and follow that. It'll give you at least a good guideline to go by.
Thank you. I had a question. The station call numbers, do they have to be mentioned at any time on and off the air?
If you're a base station, let's say I'm just using Mission Base or using Moni Mission Base or whatever. At the beginning of my operational period, I would have to announce the actual call sign of that station, Red Fox, whatever, Moni Mission Base. Then once every hour, I have to repeat Red Fox, something, Moni Mission Base. And that's real easy to accomplish for us when we do our half-hour check-ins. So when we open our net, we just open it up. This is Red Fox 79er Moni Mission Base, and then make my announcements. You as an individual station out in the field, no. You're going to be using functional designators, Ground Team 1 or such, then no, you're going to be Ground Team 1 for the duration of your sortie. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We got two questions. One was, are people free to leave if all the tasks are finished? And the second one is, when would you like the assignment submitted?
Same as you did with the Form 105s, by email, scan them in, whatever, and send them to us by email. I think, Major Felber, you gave them a deadline of next Thursday for that?
Next Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, that gives you a week to get it scanned in and sent, and us a week to receive them all and do something with them.
Yeah, that'll give you time. Look at your squitters. Make sure that you're signed off on the tasks you think you should be signed off on. That way we don't run 2 or 3 months from now and someone has nothing signed off. It will also give you time to think of some additional questions you may not have thought about asking tonight, and we can cover over those. And there's another question in the chat. Are there ever more than 2 groups in a conversation at a time? It depends. It depends on the size of the mission. You could have a mission base and 2 ground teams conversing. You could have 2 ground teams and an air crew, or 2 air crew conversing. It all depends on the size of the activity you're at. Generally, it's 1 at a time. But there may be some instances where an air crew has need to give guidance to 2 different ground teams. So it's very dependent. And like, if you're at a mission base, while you're not technically a net control station, keep that piece of paper handy. As soon as someone calls you, write down that call sign and keep it there until you know that you've concluded that communications with them, then cross it off. That way you keep track of who called you and make sure you've taken care of whatever they need.
Yeah. Also, other things you can do is if you're monitoring the radio and you're hearing a conversation between 2 field units, between Ground Team 1 and Ground Team 2, or between Cap 1170 and Ground Team 1, even though it's not directed to you, you can just make notes in the log as to what you're hearing if you got the time to do it, because that's knowledge on your part. What are they doing? you've got that information now logged that, yeah, they're talking, they're getting close to the target that the aircraft is leading them to, or they've got a problem. You can just be aware. It's just awareness for you as to what is going on out there. And again, in comm, you hear everything from both air and ground sides. So you've got an idea what all these teams are doing. And that's valuable information. So just kind of keep track of it and keep it in mind. As a CUL, I try listening to every radio that's in the comm shack so I know what's going on. That takes a lot of time to get used to doing that. But yeah, if you're working with two teams specifically, I think Randy, you answered that, or Alan, you asked that question about working with two different people at the same time. That is a time where if you're trading information with two different teams, kind of in the same conversation, which rarely ever happens. But say you're working with ground team 1, talking back and forth in a conversation, and the ground team 2 breaks in because they've got information pertinent to that conversation. Then you'll have to identify who you're talking to. So when ground team 2 breaks in, okay, got the information, Roger, then you go back, ground team 1, did you copy the information from ground team 2? You're directing the traffic. So you have to be able to control that. So yeah, you would, in that case, have to use the call sign each time if you're working with two people like that. But ordinarily, as Major Felber mentioned, you're in singular conversations with one ground team to mission base, one aircraft to mission base. So you won't have to keep identifying in the middle until somebody says out. And then that opens the channel up and anybody again can call you at that point. Okay. Any other questions?
So you want to submit the CAP form 110 is what you want sent in?
You can send in a 110. You can put it on 214. I think I talked to some people about using the 214. Anything that you use to log tonight's activity. Even if it's a piece of blue line paper, that works. Yeah, so the 110, the 214, or a blue line sheet, so long as it, lists when you got into the meeting, maybe who were you listening to, what lessons did you receive tonight, when did they start, when did they end, just all the major events for tonight's activity, and the time. Remember, you're recording a time for each of those things that happened, so we'll want to see that. But yeah, any of the three forms, the 110, the 214, or a blue line sheet of paper, any will work.
There's a couple more questions. One, how do we get aircrew professionalism signed off? It's a course in Axis.
Sir, what do you want us to put down for call signs if we use the 110 form?
Because it's an activity log and not a radio log, I wouldn't worry about call signs at this point. Just put the time and then your remark as to what activity took place. Okay? Anything else from anybody?
There's one more question. I'm trying to get back down to it.
And to...
Oh, Bill Dyer, your question about, is it possible to have a beginner man the radio? Quite possibly there will be. It depends on who's available for that mission. Usually your most experienced person is going to be the communications unit leader. But it's quite possible that the only person available to be the mission radio operator is a beginner that hasn't done it before. Hopefully there will be a qualified SET there to supervise them or her. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and the worst nightmare is when you're a CUL and you go to a mission and you need an MRO and you brought one with you so you know that they're good, And then you find out, oh, their ground team qualified, and the ground team branch director just said, I need them as a ground team leader. Here's this person with GES. Put them at the radio. That has happened to me several times. They don't even have MRO qualifications. And as a CUL, you're going to be spending the entire mission standing over their shoulder, telling them what's going on, what to say, and how to say it. So does that happen? Yes. If you're a beginner at the radio, if you're out on an exercise, so what? Are you going to make mistakes? Yes, you are. That's why you're there. I used to get really, really, really upset because every time we do a mission debrief years ago, the first complaint out of all of the air crews were we had so much trouble with that communicator on the ground having to ask us to say things over again. And I have to keep reminding them, why are you flying? Well, to practice and to learn skills. My communicators are doing the exact same thing. They're learning their job. They are going to make mistakes. They have to grow into that job. You've had this class. You aren't suddenly radio brilliant at the moment. You will grow into it, but it's going to take time. Don't be afraid to go out there, do it, make your mistakes, get the corrections. Your CUL is going to be glad to stand there with you if you got a problem and direct you through it. So yes, you'll make mistakes. That's the part of learning.
Hopefully you got enough out of all these past 3 weeks that you've already got a taste of this and you kind of know what to expect. So you can go right in and at least you won't be going in wondering, what am I supposed to do? You have some resources available now and you know where to turn to if you need additional information. Remember, CAPR 100-3 is your Bible. At the beginning of the class, I said you should review it. I think if you review it now, you'll understand it a lot more that you've been through this training. You'll understand a lot of the terms in it. Any final questions? Now's your chance.
Yeah. And like I said, email me if you've got questions, anytime in the near future. I kind of work with people from all over the country on this anyway, as a rule, so I can take questions for anybody anywhere.
Well, thank everyone for attending.
Thank you for your time.
You're all very welcome.
Yes, thank you. Excellent. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Really enjoyed the classes. I've been to 3 of the 4 that you gave, and I've enjoyed every one of them. Thank you.
Okay, well, yeah, appreciate having you here. Again, any questions, feel free to contact me. Former joined. That's interesting.
Have a great evening. Enjoy your summer.
You too, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all and good night.
Thanks, John. Take care.
Yeah. For some reason, when people leave, it says they're joining. I don't understand that one.
Yeah, I've been noticing that. Wow, that's strange.
I don't get it.
Yeah, Aaron, you